We are moving away from the traditional policy statements to policy sessions, and each distinguished panelist will be given no more than 5 minutes to respond to the 2 questions. This is to make sure we stay on time. That being said, please send the statements directly to WSIS secretaries. Statements will be published in an outcome document of the HLTF. And before we start, I would just like to invite the WSIS Action Line Facilitator to give his opening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And good morning to everyone. Welcome back to the WSIS Forum and the Action Line discussion on e-commerce and e-business. I think this is, again, a very timely event. Geneva is buzzing with discussions around e-commerce, digital trade, and the like. Only last week we had in UNCTAD the e-commerce week, the 5th edition of the e-commerce week with 1,500 participants from 135 countries, including 35 least developed countries. We are continuing our collaboration here with all different stakeholders. We had 26 of the 30 e-trade for all partners actively involved in the e-commerce week last week. And we see that this area is growing very fast. We released numbers 2 weeks ago showing that global e-commerce sales reached 29 trillion in 2017. That's 13% up over the year before. And what is interesting here, since we're going to talk about trade as well, is that the cross-border dimension of this is growing particularly fast. We saw, for instance, that the share of online buyers or online shoppers that are buying things across the border has risen from 15% to 21% in only 2 years. So that is very important. Now, since we are in the UN context, we should also keep in mind that we still have huge divides in this area, whereas in most developed countries, between 60 and 80% of the population are buying things online. In most developing countries, and especially in least developed countries, far less than 5% of the population are doing so. So there we have a huge e-commerce divide. So we see a massive need to give more attention and resources to make sure that developing countries, and especially the least developed countries, can strengthen their readiness to participate in the e-commerce and digital economy. That is important to make sure that we derive positive development, inclusive outcomes, rather than widening divides and more inequalities. So thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the sessions.
Thank you. So to help us kickstart the session, I would like to invite our first panelist, Her Excellency's Minister from Cameroon. And we'll start the question with, in general, what is the level of e-commerce in your country and in your region? And also, what initiatives are in place for the development of e-commerce in your country?
Merci de me passer la parole et je voudrais saisir cette occasion pour exprimer déjà la profonde gratitude du gouvernement de la République du Cameroun aux pays hôtes et aux organisateurs des présentes assises pour le cadre d'échange des meilleures pratiques. Je voudrais directement dire que le rôle des pouvoirs publics dans le développement socio-économique du Cameroun se traduit à 2 principaux niveaux. D'abord, une ferme volonté politique de notre président de la République à bâtir une société plus juste, équitable et inclusive. Et cela se fait donc à travers la majorité de ses adresses, des messages publics. L'économie numérique, le développement de l'économie numérique occupe une place de choix. Et même dans la feuille de route gouvernementale, il veille à ce qu'il y ait cet aspect-là. Donc, au niveau politique, c'est une force. Ensuite, maintenant, pour ce qui est du secteur des TIC qui s'adapte à l'innovation, nous avons des aménagements sur le plan institutionnel, réglementaire et infrastructurel qui sont particulièrement apportés par les pouvoirs publics pour prendre en compte la convergence et l'innovation technologique. La boussole pour faire tout cela, c'est un plan stratégique Cameroun numérique. Et comme je l'ai dit tantôt, le cadre réglementaire est en constante révision pour prendre en compte les nouvelles menaces liées à l'avènement des technologies nouvelles, l'usage des services électroniques par toutes les couches sociales, la protection des consommateurs, l'amélioration de la gouvernance, la qualité de service. C'est ainsi donc que d'importants projets de développement des infrastructures large bande ont été réalisés et ont donc permis au Cameroun de disposer, sans que je sois exhaustif, de 4 points d'atterrissement de câbles sous-marins à fibre optique, de disposer d'une dorsale nationale de fibre optique déjà posée d'un linéaire de 12 000 km, de disposer de 2 points d'échange Internet dans les villes de Yaoundé et de Douala, d'avoir une infrastructure nationale à clé publique qui est utilisée par les services publics, sans oublier un Computer Emergency Response Team, le CERT. Les efforts donc combinés des pouvoirs publics, du secteur privé, de la société civile, permettent aujourd'hui au Cameroun de disposer d'un écosystème où les TIC constituent le moteur du commerce national et sous-régional. Et cette tendance s'est donc illustrée par l'apparition de plusieurs plateformes de commerce en ligne, avec de nombreux acheteurs en ligne. Nous avons un taux de pénétration du mobile qui est près de 85%. L'augmentation exponentielle du volume des transactions liées à la monnaie électronique et au paiement par téléphone mobile, le développement du secteur de la logistique et la mise en place progressive d'une industrie nationale de contenu numérique. D'autres initiatives sont entreprises afin de bénéficier des avantages des TIC au secteur du commerce. À titre d'illustration, le gouvernement a entrepris, dans le cadre de la coopération avec l'Union postale universelle, de mettre en place la plateforme de commerce électronique de la sous-région Afrique centrale, dénommée ICOM Africa. Les progrès accomplis sont donc réels et perceptibles en matière de développement de l'économie numérique et du commerce électronique. Le rapport 2018 de la CNUSED sur l'indice e-commerce en Afrique a classé le Cameroun comme le 10e marché africain du commerce électronique et donc le premier en Afrique centrale. Toutefois, le chemin à parcourir reste long pour atteindre les objectifs de développement durable. Nous savons donc pouvoir compter sur l'apport déterminant des pays développés et émergents à permettre au reste de la communauté internationale en général et au Cameroun en particulier de rattraper le retard observé tant sur la fracture large bande que sur celle du numérique. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. Now, moving to another regions, I would like to invite His Excellency's Minister from Republic of North Macedonia. The 2 questions to you are, what is your vision for future actions with regards to digital economy as part of the Western Balkan? And what are the measures undertaken in your country in views of the e-services?
Thank you very much. Finally, I would say in the Balkans, the digital agenda is very high on the political agenda of every government. And this is also in regards to the new strategy of the European Union towards Western Balkans. On European level as well, the digital agenda is very high on every political forum and wherever we speak. And this is due to that the digital transformation has changed the way we live, we conduct business. So the institutions must follow. The 6 countries from the Western Balkans have kind of understood this. And this is why we are undergoing joint projects that are allowing our citizens and our businesses to communicate and to work much easier together. Only a few days ago, we have signed the agreement to fully annul roaming fees between the countries of the Western Balkans, which means by mid-2021, there will be no roaming between the Balkan countries. And this especially is important regarding data, and especially is important for the businesses. In parallel to this initiative, to this agreement that we have already signed, we are starting to sign agreements to mutually recognize our digital certificates. This is extremely going to influence the economy, especially the businesses, because no matter what documents they are issued in any of the countries will be recognized as domestic in the other countries as well. Balkans is part of Europe, but still, let's say, one of the least developed regions of Europe, especially in regards of infrastructure. And this infrastructural divide that we have, we can easily bridge with digital technologies. We have understood that we are going to much more easier to bring the institutions and the services to the citizens rather than to bring the citizens to the institutions, because there is a lack of infrastructure. But with the new technologies, we can easily provide the citizens in the most rural areas with access to information, to services, to public services, that will also influence the increase and the demand for electronic trade. So this will influence the business. We're undergoing these initiatives together with the business community as well, with the chambers of commerce, with the Association for E-Trade, and they see positive changes. So parallel, we need to work on the offer, but also on the demand side. And this will, of course, it is on the side of the state, of the government, to provide access to the citizens. In North Macedonia, we have just adopted our new national operational broadband plan, which means that we plan to invest, together with the support of the World Bank, in the next several years, 50 million euros in order to provide fast and ultra-fast internet connection to the especially rural areas. This should also help and stop the current migration from rural areas, from not only North Macedonia, but all over Balkans, to the urban areas and also to Western Europe. Because we are going to provide the citizens in all of these areas with access to electronic services, but also to e-trade. And when talking about this, there are two aspects of the issue. One is technical, to provide them connectivity, access to internet, but the other is the legislatory framework, the environment. And lately we have also adopted several pieces of legislation which will allow the citizens to activate their electronic identification. We are just in the final stages of installation of the hardware and software of the electronic register of population, which is the basis to provide electronic services to the citizens. We have also just adopted the new law on electronic documents, electronic services, and electronic identification and trusted services, which is going to allow the citizens to not only get services from the institutions, but also to feel safe that these services and their data will be secure by the state, and that all of our legislation is in line with EU's ADAS regulation. So basically, in very few words, we have understood that working together, connecting the people through digital connectivity will provide them with much better opportunities for living conditions, but also to conduct business. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. So moving to yet another region, I would like to invite His Excellency's Deputy Ministers from Russian Federations. The questions are, how is e-commerce evolving in Russia nowadays? And what are the barriers and challenges you face in process of e-commerce development in Russia and your approach to overcome them?
Thank you for your questions. Russia is now heavily investing in developing its internet infrastructure. Last year, we launched a very ambitious plan to really finish the issue of closing the digital divide in Russia. Will be about 97% of the territory of the Russian Federation, including the vast underpopulated areas beyond the Arctic Circle, will be covered by the internet, be that by satellite or mainly by broadband, which of course contributes greatly to developing, increasing the development of e-commerce, of e-payments that are to be done in Russia. We are working heavily on developing new legislation, because, you know, basically the challenges that arise in developing e-commerce of those of protecting personal data, those of protecting consumers, those of protecting payment systems. And these are legal challenges as well as technological challenges. We have to deal with them. Another part of our digital economy national program is developing legislation, and part of it is dedicated to the legislation related to e-payments. As you know, nowadays e-commerce has developed two trends at least. One is moving toward mobile devices, and the second one is moving from trade to logistics in a way. Russia's Post this year is becoming a public company, so we are, as a ministry supervising over this process, are very much concerned about how new business models will develop with the Russian Post. Russian Post is the major logistical company for moving e-commerce goods, both on export and imports in Russia. So we try to invest heavily in developing a smart logistics system based on smart fulfillment to ensure that the last mile is as smooth as possible for the consumers. One of the most important challenges Russia is facing is developing its transit potential, because e-commerce is not only B2C or B2B2C, it's also the movement of goods and the movement of goods through the territory of Russia. In case we are able to develop the so-called space of digital trust with our partners on the Eurasian Economic Union, and we are working on that, we will be able to ensure the paperless transition of goods through the territory of Russia, from China to Europe and backwards, thus making it possible to move containers through the continental part of Russia within maybe 10 days or so, using also high-speed railways. So to our mind, this is a huge development. It will contribute greatly to the development of e-commerce and e-trade, and traditional trade in general. So we are now also heavily investing our effort and money, both public and private, in securing the payment systems. As you know, lots of cyber crimes are now related to violating the control or the security of the payment systems. Russian solutions such as InfoWatch or Kaspersky are well known worldwide. Our banks are now developing their own payment systems. They are not quite competitive worldwide as maybe Alipay or some other companies, but they are quite robust, and they're moving even beyond the borders of Russia, thus ensuring greater involvement and engagement of citizens in using mobile devices to make their payments. I'm happy to usually move around Moscow even without cash, so I can use my cell phone wherever I can to pay for my goods. This is becoming a more all-pervasive trend in Russia. So I think this is a small token of how our e-citizens and e-commerce is developing. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. To switch over a little bit away from e-commerces and talk more about the digital economy, I would like to invite the Director General for Post and Informatic Operations from the Ministry of Communication and Informatics from Indonesia. Can you give us some example of Indonesia's policies that have paid off in boosting the digital ecosystem and economy? And also, what are your hopes for the impact of WSIS to the digital economy?
Thank you, moderator. In the light of your question, because population is one of important factor for digital economy, let me answer your question by giving you a bit background of Indonesia. In Indonesia, we have at least 268 million people, and the penetration of internet users is 150 million internet users in Indonesia. In that context, to support the growth of Indonesia's digital economy, the government of Indonesia focuses on implementing several programs such as ICT infrastructure and digital literacy skills. Indonesia realized that the maximum benefit from the digital economy is yet to be reaped. Therefore, Indonesia is motivated to continuously develop its digital ecosystem to further accelerate its digital economy and trade in order to create positive impact and boost the overall economy. The government itself has shifted its policies from regulator-driven to facilitator-driven. In this regard, Indonesia has contributed to the achievement of WSIS action lines in which we introduce several affirmative ICT policies that aim to minimize the telecommunication accessibility and affordability gap in Indonesia through deploying a national high-capacity backbone network called Palaparing project. The Palaparing, which is in the final leg of completion, provides high-speed internet access to more than 440 cities and municipalities in a major island of Indonesia such as Java, Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and Papua. Digital economy with ICT infrastructure need to be bolstered by other fields such as cybersecurity, data privacy, digital literacy, and education in order to increase adoption of digital goods and services. To strengthening the ecosystem of the digital economy, the government has conducted the following. One, basic education on ICT skill and knowledge known as Digital Literacy Program in collaboration with Cyber Kreasi Indonesia Digital Literacy National Movement. Two, intermediate and advanced education skill. We have created Digital Talent Scholarship Program targeting 20,000 individuals to gain ICT certification for the following fields such as AI, big data analytics, cloud computing, IoT, etc. Three, establishing 1,000 national digital startup program, which aim to develop digital startup ecosystem in Indonesia through provision of seed funding for 1,000 digital startup by 2020. For providing linkage for new startup to become a new unicorn. In this context, we conduct the Next Indonesian Unicorn or Nexticorn program. Therefore, we invite investors around the world to join our Nexticorn program. Beside the program and policies that I have previously mentioned, Indonesia's government also strive to create a sharing economy, workforce, digitalization, and digital financial inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you. Throughout this discussion, we continue to hear the importance of regulatory framework in the digital economy. So to dive into the regulatory aspect of the digital economy, I would like to invite the Executive Director for Communication Regulatory Commission from Colombia. The questions are, what should be the role of regulator in a digital economy, and how a country should measure the digital economy in a global context?
Thank you very much for your question. For better comprehension, I would like to talk in Spanish. Primero que todo, hay que decir que en Colombia desarrollamos una hoja de ruta para la economía digital. Esta hoja de ruta lo que pretende es ver de manera holística todo el reto que implica para Colombia la economía digital. Y lo que hemos encontrado es que al ser un tema transversal a la economía digital es la economía misma, pero transversal. Lo que hemos visto es que los estados no están construidos para la economía digital. Si uno ve, cada gobierno tiene una estructura vertical, la mayoría de gobiernos, donde cada ministerio o cada sector tiene su regulador y su hacedor de políticas. Sin embargo, cuando uno empieza a discutir temas como los que tenemos hoy de hoteles, de transporte, se da cuenta que no es un tema vertical, sino horizontal. Por lo tanto, lo que estamos recomendando para Colombia es una mirada transversal a la economía digital, donde se puedan discutir temas transversales. Y les voy a dar un ejemplo. Lo que hoy estamos viendo en el mundo, en el tema de regulación, es sanciones a Google y a Facebook en Europa, temas de protección de datos, de derechos de autor, temas de seguridad. Y esos temas no le corresponden a una sola autoridad regulatoria. le corresponden a toda la política del Estado. Por lo tanto, lo que estamos intentando es desarrollar una hoja de ruta que lleve al país a mirar de manera holística, repito, la economía digital y afrontar estos retos. Hay muchos retos en este sentido. Quiero resaltar algunos de ellos. Temas de recursos humanos, por ejemplo, de pagos. Hoy la seguridad social en Colombia, cada empleado la paga de su bolsillo. Pero en la economía digital, donde hay autoempleados y la gente ya no pertenece a una empresa como empleado, sino que es un empleado, ya no está aportando a la seguridad social. Por lo tanto, puede poner en aprietos o en problemas en el futuro a temas de seguridad social y de pensiones, por ejemplo, de retiro. Ese tema debe ser analizado con cuidado para ver cómo va a ser la sostenibilidad de los sistemas de salud y de seguridad social y de pensiones. Otro tema son los impuestos. Dado que hay un comercio transnacional donde todos compran afuera del país, la mayoría, empiezan a ver que el tema impositivo también es otro reto, porque hoy en día una empresa, no voy a poner ningún nombre, que preste servicios de multimedia a través del internet prestados en Colombia, pero sin presencia en Colombia, pues no paga impuestos en Colombia. Por lo tanto, esos dineros que está dejando de pagar, y no estoy diciendo que tenga que pagarlos, solo que hay que mirar cuáles son las fuentes de financiación de los países cuando existe una economía global con presencias globales, no con presencias locales. Otro tema son el manejo de los datos personales. Hoy la discusión es si los datos que una persona pone en Facebook o en Google son o no transables, son o no, de quién son, es propiedad de quién esos datos y quién puede enriquecerse por esos datos, quién puede vender esos datos o hasta dónde ese usuario tiene derecho a conservar esos datos y a controlar el uso de los mismos. El último mensaje que quiero dar en este sentido es que lo que estoy diciendo no es que hay que regular más, hay que regular de manera más inteligente y antes de regular hay que entender las dinámicas de la economía digital para saber cuándo regular. Algunas veces no regular es regular, o sea, dejar que el mercado mismo se autorregule y cuando sea necesario el Estado debe estar ahí para intervenir. Gracias.
Thank you. So moving on to some of the forecasts and potential on the digital economy, I would like to invite the Deputy Secretary General of Asia Pacific Telecommunity. So Asia Pacific region is forecasted to have great potentials. Do you think the region's economy is ready to transform itself to the digital economy? And also considering the issues to be tackled, what will APT do in order to realize the digital economy potentials in that region?
Okay, thank you, Ted. First of all, APT is the only intergovernmental organization focusing on ICT in the region. And as you said, we foresee the market size of Asia and the Pacific region will be very big and important for global economy. So, and transformation to digital economy is ongoing process, and it is not something that we can wait until we are ready. So therefore, the question is rather how much fast can we adjust, or more proactively, how much fast can we promote transformation to digital economy? So to answer that question, I'd like to stress 3 points as an important factor. First, policy and regulatory framework which facilitate development of innovative ICT products and services. In this regard, mindset of policymakers should be also subject to the creative destruction. Second, international common business platform where economic activity can flourish. Basic element of economic activity is exchange. So whether it is product, service, data, or finance, smooth flow is the key for digital economy. Then third, digital economy should be a place where people can embrace it. Without having a shared positive view for digital economy, it can't be sustainable. So with regard to the second question, what APT can do for those issues? I think the APT can do several things in that regard. First and foremost, APT can provide a platform to discuss related ICT policy issues and share experiences among member countries. Second, APT can conduct research work in order to analyze current situation in the region. The result of such activities would contribute to member countries' discussion. Third, APT can facilitate and coordinate with other international organizations so that member countries can discuss and consider cross-sectorial issues. So since transformation to digital economy prevails everywhere and every aspect, no one country or organization can deal with alone. So therefore, bottom line is collaboration. And APT would like to be a catalyst for collaboration in Asia and Pacific region in the era of digital economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Being based in Asia Pacific myself, it is definitely excited to see how the region can transform. So every opportunity comes with risk and threats. So I would like to invite the chairman of the MLI group on the following questions. So what unprecedented threats are faced by the local and global digital economies and trade today? And are current strategies, solutions, and regulatory framework adequate to mitigate these new threats? If not, any quick suggestions for us?
Good morning, Ted, and good morning to everybody. First of all, I'm glad we're addressing the issues of threats from the angle of the digital economy. If we recall at the beginning of the interventions and some of our fellow panelists, $27 trillion is the value of the global digital economy today. Well, I have some news for you. We are in unprecedented times. And these unprecedented times are bringing threats to local, regional, and global economies, and people's lives and livelihoods are at stake. And I'm actually pleased that some of the panelists have addressed some of this stuff. But I fear we're not doing enough. Let me put it in the proper context. We live in 2019 in the 21st century living, and that no longer matches with the 20th century model of governance, economics, and mechanisms of how we legislate, regulate, or defend. And that's a challenge. So, if you think by the way, raise of hands. If anybody thinks I'm scaremongering, raise your hand here. Not a single hand, so I might as well stop. But let's put it in perspective. I'm going to give you some facts. Each one of them is a game changer that you would think those who are in authority, who are responsible for defending the nation state, or businesses who are responsible for securing the organizations, would start thinking, not just outside of the box, but thinking innovatively as what is it they must do to defend. So, for example, today, governments and organizations are being cyber attacked on unprecedented scales, and that's on global levels. We have a new breed of destruction-motivated cyber terrorists that are now on the rise. Artificial intelligence is not only going at a huge speed, it's actually being weaponized. The sophistication of the cyber criminals is on such a speed, there's no chance for law enforcement to actually keep up. When you put it all in perspective, plus you add the technology and artificial intelligence and the speed at which they are evolving, is there any chance that any regulatory regime that we are implementing today that can keep up? I'm asking this to my panelists. I'm asking these to government delegates and organizations, and the answer is no. So the question here we need to ask ourselves is, what must we do? We propose that a change of mindset matched with a new description. First of all, cybersecurity is no longer the key word. You need to start focusing on survivability. That's national and corporate. And if you are a nation-state leader whether you are a regulator, a minister, or even a head of state, the question you need to ask is what type of national cyber survivability strategy with legislative roadmap do I need to implement so that I can secure my nation state? The truth of the matter here is the nation state and citizens are at risk without a single military installation being attacked, without a single critical infrastructure being attacked, and this is real. This is not scaremongering. From a corporate point of view, you have to ask the same thing. What type of a corporate cyber survivability strategy? What is it that I'm actually not implementing to append to the things that must be done very well? And if you don't ask that question, you are not challenging yourself enough. That's really what I would actually leave you with this thought. I'm happy to answer any other questions, so this is really the high-level message I would pass on.
Thank you. I think this is a great segue to our next question. So to help us imagine and think ahead to the year of 2030 with these in mind, I would like to invite the International Secretary from ASDF Internationals, right? So how do you see the digital economy in 2030? And do you think that trade can be facilitated with a universal currency?
Yeah, thank you for the floor. Yes, in the 2030, like, I just wanted to go for 30 years before the present days. Probably will go for 1989. And if you have been seeing, like, we have been using the paper currencies and coins, like, it used to be weighing heavy. And nowadays it has become the digital card, the cards in between, like probably in 2000s. It was the debit cards, the credit cards, the ATM cards. These cards has replaced the cash money, the paper money. And now this technological world is replacing this digital cards also into your digital phones or into your smartwatches or into the artificial intelligence or the IoTs. That's what I feel like, in 2030, probably like, we don't see the existence of paper money or coins. And, probably answering for your next question, like about universal currency. Yes, I think there will be an universal currency because now we have been seeing a massive changes in the blockchain payments and the bitcoins. Around some 85,000 types of bitcoins are available in the digital market right now, and this is going to be like a massive change and massive breakthrough. And certain countries have legalized the usage of bitcoins also, which is which is a good move, I think so. And probably like coming up for the universal currency. Yes, now we have almost, most of them in the floor. We're knowing about the three major players, like the Visa, the MasterCard, and the American Express. And probably next, once when it is coming into in line with the governmental relations, so probably we'll be coming up with a new product also. And this product may be replacing the existing debit cards and the ATM cards and the credit cards in order to give you a new brand interface for doing the transactions. And now, for example, like we'll take the case as the European Union. So earlier we had the Swiss francs, the French and other currencies for local currencies. Now what we have made is like the euro. And the same way, like, I have been involved in a discussion in the ASEAN about, creating a new currency for the ASEAN zone, the 10 countries, particularly like the Thailand, the Singapore and Malaysia and other countries in the ASEAN zone. So now, once when this type of implementations are coming up, we call it as like the local colonialization. Like now, European Union is having an euro, the ASEAN is going to have their own currency, and the United States is going to have the dollars. And once when this is going to be like the major stakeholders, probably in 2030, all will be merging together to form an universal currency. Yes, there are lots of difficulties in implementing the digital currencies. And those things will be discussed further in order to maintain the decorum of the currency values and the national's level of importance. Thank you.
Thank you. So we cannot talk about digital economy without addressing, getting into details on some of the technologies. So last but not least, I would like to invite the CEO of Open Health Network to give us the perspective of how technology can impact trade. The questions are, what are the impact of artificial intelligence on international trade? And also, what is the potential impact of blockchain technology on international trade?
Good morning. Happy to be here. And from previous discussions from panelists. You've heard good and bad things that technologies can bring to us. And if you look at even terminology, I think we don't all agree what those things are. If you look at artificial intelligence, it's encompasses so many different things, such as neural networks, machine learning, also Internet of Things, drones, and natural language processing. So when we talk about AI, we have to understand what type of things we actually mean. When you talk about blockchain and currency, yeah, there is, electronic currency, but there are a lot of applications of a blockchain outside of any currency. And what is a blockchain, and how blockchain can address some of the issues that have been raised here on security and privacy of the data. Panelists have mentioned that we're concerned as consumers how the data we publish can be used against us. So we've developed in my company an architecture that enables people to democratize use of their health data so they can control who, when, and how does with their health data. It can be applicable to other areas. If you look at AI, let's look at the supply chain. We can build algorithms that can predict demands that will enable you to plan your productions. We can use IoT devices with neural networks, and we can predict failure of the major equipment that can disrupt production and disrupt supply chain. Look at the agriculture. We can predict crops, we can predict demand, but also on the blockchain side, which became a huge issue, using blockchain and AI, we can trace origins of the produce. So if there is an outbreak of certain diseases, technologies of the blockchain can trace produce back to the farm where it was produced, so we can isolate major issues fast. I was pleased to hear examples of use of AI from Oman, where they mentioned using AI in image processing to increase detection of breast cancer. So when we're looking at those examples of AI and the things that blockchain and AI can deliver, we need to understand ethics, implications on security, but at the same time, what we've dealt before, we dealt with centralized databases. How secure is that? Now, blockchain enables you to store data in secure distributed databases, A. B, it's an infrastructure that allows you to keep data in blocks, but it's not just that. You cannot change anything, so it's highly secure. Every block has reference to previous and next block, so it's very difficult to make data insecure, and it's traceable. So how these type of technologies can help us to address most of the issues that have been raised for across many industries, that's the thing. And we need also, of course, understand all the implications that come with that. Like, for example, we can blame AI on lack of privacy in using data against us, but at the same time, we have to understand that we are the ones who post everything on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and everywhere else, and it's not just us. Our friends, our family members, I can use social network and find out where you were or you were not, what you have done. And guess what? Your insurance company can decline your life insurance without ever talking to you, just based on your social footprints. So as in any technology, there are good and bad things, but you cannot stop progression of the world. AI, blockchain, other disruptive technologies will be there, so we have to train, understand, address from all policy security issues, but embrace them. Thank you.
Thank you very much for addressing those points. We are very much on time, and we do have, I think we can open to, we have 10 minutes, so I think we can open to the floor for some question if anyone have. Anyone would like to?
May I break the rule a little bit? Could we ask questions of the audience?
Yes, yes.
No. Ask the questions of the audience, not wait for the audience to ask them.
Okay.
Now you have the microphone. Would you ask the audience, what is it? Yeah, well.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Instead of waiting for you to ask us a question, I'm going to ask you a question. You've been here for 2 days. You are now engaging in a forum, in a mechanism that is what I would call from the 20th century. And we have to find a way of bridging, moving in the 21st century and the way we live and the way we are threatened and what we need to do, and how we need to move forward. So my question to you here is, there are many players here, there are many attendees who are decision makers. As a decision makers, do you feel that you are challenging yourself on what you need to do differently? And if anybody is happy to raise their hand and volunteer, that would be wonderful, because we can no longer afford to be passengers on this train, ladies and gentlemen. We have to be driving the train. Each one of us who has a role within their organization or their government has a role to drive that train. And if we don't drive that train, because everything we are in is uncharted waters, unprecedented, and unless we drive it, we create the right mechanisms, as you mentioned earlier on, guess what? It's not good. So, Ted, ball's in your court.
Amazing. So anyone would like to there, that gentleman.
We have a victim.
Thank you very much.
Please.
No, sorry, I'm not answering the question. I actually want to ask a question to the Honorable Minister from Cameroon. And my question is, does countries in Africa, especially probably countries like Cameroon, do they see internet as a threat to democracy? Thank you.
Merci pour la question qui m'est posée. Je voudrais dire que répondre par oui ou non, ça ne va pas. La réalité, c'est que le monde entier s'est engagé dans une dynamique qui est le développement de l'économie numérique avec Internet. Internet doit couvrir tout le territoire, les populations des villes, comme ceux des zones rurales. Et Internet a pour ambition d'être utilisé même par ceux qui ne sont pas scolarisés. La conséquence est donc pour nous, les gouvernants, il y a un très bon côté de l'Internet, quelque chose de positif, mais automatiquement, il ne fait l'objet d'aucun doute que ça devient une arme, une menace pour les gouvernants. Parce qu'en réalité, nous sommes à l'ère où l'utilisateur, le consommateur, l'homme de la population a le pouvoir. Et vous vous rendez compte, donc, vous donnez subitement, au XXIe siècle, le pouvoir à toutes les populations qui s'expriment, qui peuvent choisir. Et des fois, les populations n'ont pas la bonne information. Le décideur, qu'il soit président de la République, ou ministre, ou directeur, a un plan stratégique, a un objectif qui ne peut pas toujours obtenir l'adhésion de tout le monde. Par conséquent, le défi là, la question se pose à tous les gouvernements, pas seulement en Afrique. Et vous voyez ce que les réseaux sociaux font aujourd'hui. À travers les réseaux sociaux, quelqu'un qui ne peut même pas vous parler en face se permet, des malades mentaux fantasment, et ils mettent sur les réseaux sociaux. Et ceux qui écoutent, quand ils ne sont pas sensibilisés, formés, ils prennent ça pour de la réalité, et beaucoup plus pour nous en Afrique. Vous savez, quand c'est Internet qui a dit, on croit que c'est la vérité. Donc je voudrais dire que nous sommes obligés, c'est irréversible. Nous sommes engagés, mais ce que les gouvernements font, nous essayons de modérer. Même comme apparemment, au niveau mondial, il n'y a pas encore la régulation d'Internet, mais nous essayons par des mesures locales de canaliser nos populations. Internet est bon et il est mauvais et nous voulons jouer notre rôle et non d'être un condiment dans la sauce qui est en train d'être préparée. Là, je parle en africain. Nous voulons être des acteurs autant que cela se peut. Merci.
Ted, may I? Actually, the gentleman who asked about democracy, could you please stand up? Thank you. Very good question, but let me just rephrase your question. Democracy is under unprecedented threat, not only in Cameroon, but globally. Now, if any of you have heard of Cambridge Analytica, you know how it was involved in the advancement of many elections in many parts of the world, including some African elections. So you already know about that. The challenge here is, if you don't take part in reclaiming your democracy, guess what? It'll be dead. And that's the thing I was talking about, where we need to make 21st century living match with the models of the 20th century. And unless we find the solutions moving forward, democracy will actually die. So it's up to you to actually be active. And as a matter of fact, we're doing something about this. You can ask me later on, and I'm happy to share with you. You just Google era of the unprecedented online.
Thank you, thank you. Do we have time for one more question, or?
Gentleman from Oman over there.
Oh, sure, the gentleman.
Thank you very much. I think one of the challenges that government faces today is, they want to regulate everything. When you look at the adoption of new technologies today, there is a gap between the regulator and the innovator. And one of the case study that we see in Oman, for example, whenever there is a new technologies, you find the regulator always say, they will not allow it because of it's a new thing. They don't have a previous experience. So what we did in Oman, actually, we created what we call a sandbox or center of excellence for IR technologies, where we bringing the innovators, new technology and trends, AI, blockchain, IoT platforms, and the regulator together. So it created a very fast impact on the adoption of new technologies. When we talk about the adoption of the breast cancer diagnosis using artificial intelligence, it will not come without bringing all those, the regulator to share their data, or the policymaker to share their data, and to find a solution for their concern, because always the regulator, they have a certain concern that we have to ensure that their concern is we address it. In this case, I think whenever we have this platform, and I argue the countries really to look at this as a very important experience, it helps us to make the right policies, and also to help the policymaker and the regulator to move forward and adopt the new technology.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for your inputs. In the interest of time, I would like to conclude this session by thanking all the distinguished panelists for their contribution to such a diverse conversation. The final summary will be provided during the concluding session today. And thank you to the audience, and we will move on to the next panel. Thank you. Bye-bye.